Hi. I know it's been a while since I have posted a video here on my channel, and I thought it was only fair that I finally get on here and explain where I've been, what's been going on in my life, and how I plan to move forward with this channel and with some other things going on. So, this is the situation. Since and middle of July, end of June, my life has been in a big transition. Some of this transition has been a little bit of a long time in coming, and some of it was very quick and sudden. And those two things kind of intermixed and interwoven together to bring me to here where I am right now. So, and my dog is probably going to start making noise, so I may have to pause this, come back, let him out of his confinement, and then come back. So if you hear a little groaning or weird noises in the background, it's probably him. Where to begin? I can't begin at the beginning because this would be like a 4-hour video, and nobody has time for that. And frankly, you don't need to know all the background. The situation is that I'm in the middle of getting a divorce, selling a house, and those are the two big ones. I think that's probably enough. The divorce is what's been a long time in coming. We've gone through counseling, therapy. Wouldn't really say that the fallout of this marriage is a result of like COVID shutdowns and quarantines and things like that. Although the time together brought to light a few things, but it wasn't the breaking point or anything like that. It was coming long before that. We've been talking off and on about this breakup for quite a while. And like I said, some counseling and working things out, and ultimately it just didn't work out. I think that's pretty much all I'm going to say directly and immediately about that whole situation, because it's just not fair I don't think, to air your dirty laundry on YouTube. And there's not a lot of dirty laundry. It's just old laundry. It needs to be donated, moved on, freshen up the wardrobe kind of thing. My soon-to-be ex-husband and I are still very good friends. We will always be parents together, even though our children are adults now and on with their lives. We will always be a part of each other's lives. We have just both come to the realization that our lives are moving in different directions and different paths that we both want to take. And if we stay together, we're hindering each other from achieving those desires and those goals. And so we're taking this opportunity to amicably split. We are doing the whole thing without lawyers. We came to the agreement together. We drew up all the paperwork with some help just to make sure that it was all our I's were dotted and T's were crossed, and it was all legal and correct. But we filed by ourselves independently, and it's in the works. It's in the process, and so that's that. What brought us to this finally all happening now was just kind of a coming together of a lot of different situations. We live here in Chattanooga, as you probably know if you're a friend of mine or you've heard me talking on my channel. And we've been here for 5 years. We came here from the Chicago suburbs 5 years ago, and ready to make a change. And my dog is right here, and he's wagging his tail and attempting to knock everything over. So sit. I'm going to make you go back over there. I love you. Come up on the porch, up on the couch if you need to. I swear. It's not one thing, it's another. Usually it's my dog. We came here to Chattanooga 5 years ago after selling a house in the suburbs of Chicago. That was quite an ordeal. And it, I think, caused a little trauma in our marriage, in our each of us personally. We were really ready for the change. We were really ready to downsize, but it was just a struggle to sell that house. That's all I'm going to say about that. And coming to Chattanooga was his idea. I'm just going to say that. I was along for the ride. I'm like, I can do anything for any period of time. We came and visited Chattanooga, and I really liked what I saw here. I liked the feeling. I'd never been to Chattanooga before. We came here to start house shopping and didn't know anybody here. But I just took it on as a new adventure. I was ready for something new. I never really, I have great friends in Illinois and I miss them dearly, but I just never really, I didn't want to stay there. I was ready for something new. And I'm always, I took this as an opportunity to be the new kid and explore a new place and meet new people and make new friends and become my true self and really explore things that I've always been interested in, and have succeeded in all of those things here. And I love Chattanooga, and I love the people, and just everything. So it's just been a good location for us. It was I think a good life choice. On the other hand, my husband did not have the same experience coming here to Chattanooga. He just has not found his people. He has not found his place here. He complains about the weather a lot, which I don't know. The weather is weather. I mean, yes, it does. It has rained. We've been in a very rainy season the last couple of years. It gets very hot and humid in the summer, but I think we knew that coming in. And he really wanted to get away from Chicago winters, so we succeeded in that. We haven't had to shovel one flake of snow since we've moved here. So, or had to wear a down parka or anything like that since we've moved here. So, but again, it's just that's the situation. He still travels for work, and he thought the location here with the airport and being Nashville and Atlanta airports within a reasonable distance would be workable for his work and his travel for work, and it just adds extra time onto his travel time, and it hasn't been as convenient as he had hoped it was. So with our daughter out of college and the market going crazy here in Chattanooga, it's a very desirable place to live for most people, except for him, I guess. It seemed like a really good time to consider selling our house, because we bought a house big enough that if our daughter needed to come home from college, we had space for her. It was a bigger house than we really kind of needed, except we did need it because I had my workspace, he had his office. It just seemed like a really good time to sell it. And last year, I was really saying we need to sell this house. We can, I'm looking at what's happening around us. Houses are selling around us very quickly for very good money. But then the next question was, well, where do you go after you sell your house? And I was wanting to stay here. He was ready to go somewhere else, anywhere else, really. And that was a sticking point. And then we would have the conversations about, are we really staying together? And that would change depending on when we were having the conversation and what was going on in our lives. And again, other things in there that I just don't feel comfortable talking about. I mean, just nothing juicy but just details. And so, we've been talking about selling the house, and we've been talking about getting a divorce. Weren't sure, what was going to happen. Anyhow, June of this year, our next door neighbors. Now, this is a little point that needs to be made here. When we bought our house, there were two houses right next door to each other, a red house and our house, a blue house. And they were the red, white, and blue houses on Liberty Street. And they were built by the same person, same builder, at the exact same time. And they are fraternal twins. They are, like, I look out my kitchen window into their kitchen window. Like, they're flip-flopped mirrors of each other. But fundamentally, they're the exact same house. They were both for sale when we were in the market, and we looked at both of them. And we literally walked back and forth, I have a dog, between the two when we were viewing them and comparing and contrasting. And ultimately decided on our house because we were able to fence in the backyard and make the backyard usable for the dogs mainly. I mean, they're part of our family, and it was something we needed to consider. And there were a few other things we liked. There were things we liked about the red house that the blue house didn't have. very minor things like selections and finishes. And we were like, well, okay, then I like the cabinet in that bathroom better than the cabinet in our bathroom, but it's not a deal breaker. Ultimately, we went with our house. But again, identical houses built at the exact same time. Well, in June, our next door neighbors, who I thought they're a young couple and their daughter was in the school system, and hold on. We thought that they were in that house long term. But turns out we woke up one Thursday morning and there was a for sale sign in their front yard. And we're not close friends with them, but we were friendly neighbors, texted each other all the time with questions and helped each other out when we could and things like that. So they had their house for sale. We looked, of course, as nosy neighbors do, we looked it up on Zillow immediately, and we were shocked at how much they were asking for that house. We're like, wow. Then 24 to 48 hours after putting it on the market, they dropped the price a little bit, but it was still a considerable number compared to what I know they paid for it, because they paid the exact same number we paid for ours. So when we looked at that and we did the math, we were like, this is going to afford us, if we sell our house for even close to what they have their house listed for, we could split the proceeds and go our separate ways and be comfortable. Both of us would have enough to be comfortable to start over separately. So that was a big deciding factor because we were both unhappy. I mean, clearly, there's no other way around it. They ended up getting an offer by Monday afternoon. So they had their house Thursday to Monday, and they got an offer for what they were asking. Not the original asking price, but the dropped price that they had dropped it on Saturday morning. Again, quite a big thing. So we're like, oh, shit. I think that's when he realized that I wasn't just blowing smoke, that I was like, yes, we could sell this house and we could, have a decent takeaway from it. Now, I need to say too that the neighbors did do a few things to their house. The basement that I used to be where I would have all of my videos, my workspace, they had put up a wall and a door and made a bedroom down there they used to Airbnb for a while. And then the back part of the basement where I would do my dyeing and my, we used as storage and workspace. They had put in a floor, a pergo floor, and walled off the things like the furnace and the water heater and things, and made like a media room in there. Probably put in different lighting, I'm sure, can lighting rather than the tube lighting that was in there. But, so they had more finished space than we had, and an extra bedroom than we had. So I'm trying not to take too long on this. Long story short, we decided, hey, we're going to put our house on the market. Even if we don't get as much as they get, if we get this amount of money, we did the math, we talked, and we hired their real estate agent, figuring that she might know other people who were interested in their house that, didn't get their house and would be interested in ours. Or, she'd already proved herself to successfully sell that house, so she could sell our house. So we met with her, and of course the numbers she was coming up with for our house were considerably lower than the numbers that she had listed their house for. She said, quite frankly, she thought they kind of had overpriced their house, but I'm like, but they got it, so if somebody's willing to pay it, then it's not overpriced. Because of the extra finished square footage. She was doing it all by calculating by square footage. Anyway, we were willing to price ours lower, understandably. So here's the timeline. So end of June, July, we decide, okay, we're going to sell our house. We're going to use this as an opportunity to finance our separate lives. And he's can leave Chattanooga that he seems to hate so much, and I can stay in Chattanooga because I love it so much. And then I decided, well, it's really hard. I knew from past experience, it's really hard to sell a house when you have animals living in it. It's really hard to sell a house when you're living in it, period. But I'm like, well, since I'm planning to stay here anyway, and I'm going to have to find a rental anyway, and assuming that the house would sell very quickly, so it wouldn't be an issue of overlapping financially or anything for too long, I decided to start looking for a rental house. And I got very lucky. This is when things started really snowballing for us, and I thought, oh, this is going so smoothly. I should have known. This house that I'm in, the space I am in right now, is owned by a friend of mine and her husband. They own a number of little rentals, both Airbnbs and long-term rentals here in the Chattanooga area. And they had just bought this house in the spring, and we're refinishing it. We're cleaning it up. They redid the bathrooms, redid the kitchen, put in new carpet, painted, fixed up a lot of stuff, because from my understanding, it was kind of a mess when they bought it. But they bought it with the intent to rent it. And it was available in July, or going to be available in July. I'm like, I came over, I looked at it, I loved it. But then there were a couple others I wanted to look at that I thought might meet my needs a little bit better. So I went and looked at those, and then I came back to them, and they had somebody who had already applied, and I was like, oh shit, I missed it. Well, then those people didn't work out, so it was mine. So between 1st of July and July 15th, which is when my lease officially started here, well, I had to spend those 2 weeks, first of all, finding this place, which I got, like I said, I got very lucky. Timing was perfect. I had to start packing and, decluttering and doing all the things that you have to do to get a house ready for the market at the other house. Packing things and deciding, well, what can I keep here at this house? Because there's no storage here. It's a very small house, and there's no basement, no attic. Well, I mean, there's a basement, but there's a crawl space and there's an attic, but neither one are storage. So what would go into like a storage, off-site storage, what needs to stay at the other house, what needs to come here, what do I need to live here, that, etc. The houses are only about a mile apart, so it wasn't, a huge thing. But during that time, I also had to get the realtor. With the realtor, I also had to arrange for staging, photography, a deep clean of the house once we got the animals out of it, arranging for a storage unit, all those things. Started moving in a little bit before the 15th because they got done over here preparing it, and they're like, here's the key, your lease officially starts the 15th, and I wasn't going to be living here full time yet anyway. I was just bringing boxes over. So, for the first 3 weeks, or for those middle 2 weeks of July, every day, every time I went to work to walk a dog or do a dog care or left the house for any reason, I made sure my car was loaded with boxes or whatever to come over here. I'd stop over here, I'd unload, and then whenever I got it was just back and forth. I probably made at least minimal a dozen trips in my Mini Cooper bringing loads over here. Now, in the middle of this was a family wedding in Michigan, on the west coast of Michigan, for our niece, my husband's side of the family. And we had made the decision together. We had already told our children about what was happening, but we hadn't really told anybody else other than, a few need-to-know basis. And we didn't want to announce it to the family until after the wedding because we didn't want it to be the focus of the wedding. We didn't want it, we didn't want to take any focus off the bride and groom. I mean, you just don't want to be that aunt and uncle that come and take all the attention away from the bride and groom on their wedding day. It was a beautiful wedding. And so we had this Michigan trip that we left on a Thursday morning and came back on Sunday. So it was very short. We drove. And during this trip, and again, this is something else that I'm not going to go into detail in, but this was when my husband had the opportunity to tell his family. Now, he comes from a very big family, about what was happening with us, what was going on with us. So that made it awkward for me, but it's fine. 13 hours driving back on Sunday so we could get back because the house was going to be listed on the 30th. So we had 1 week to get. Did I have the movers? Yes, I got lucky again through some of the wonderful network of people that I have created around me here in Chattanooga. A professional moving company that I had used for a small job in the past. Person I know, and he was able to get me a crew and a truck and move a lot of my furniture that we didn't need at the other house over here. And then my husband and I and a friend rented a U-Haul to clean out our basement and our storage to put into a storage unit. So the basement was clean and empty. So pretty much everything that was in my workspace studio in the basement of the old house is now in this house, plus a few other things, minus a bed. We're going on over a month and I'm still sleeping on an air mattress, but that's another story. So we get back from Michigan. Another friend of mine is a house cleaner, but she is usually very booked up, very high demand, and she happened to have a free Tuesday, that Tuesday, to come clean my house for me. Amen. So she came, did a deep clean of the house. Wednesday, this morning of that week, the stagers came and were impressed with how much we had got, because she had gone through the house before I had moved anything out and told me, take that out of here. We're going to bring in, rearrange this, empty that. So that's what I had been doing before we left for the wedding. They came in, got the place staged and beautiful, and then photographer came in that afternoon and took all these amazing photographs of the house. Thursday, we had a day to breathe, barely. And then Friday, the listing went live. And it was live, and we sat and we waited for the messages to come in that there was going to be viewings on the weekend. And we sat and we waited for the messages to come in that there'd be viewings for the weekend. And we sat a little longer and waited for messages to come in that there'd be showings for the weekend. Our agent was out of town for the weekend, but she had arranged to have an open house, I think on Saturday that weekend. No, Sunday that weekend. Sorry. I think. Anyway, we did get one showing before the open house. Okay, fine. And then didn't hear any back. Then we had the open house. And the agent who was sitting the open house for our agent sat there for 2 hours, waiting for people to come see the house. We're arranging these things on the table, and sitting a little longer for someone to come in the front door. Fluffing these flowers in this vase, waiting for people to come in the front door for the open house. Nobody came to the open house. So another week went by, because Monday through Friday, nobody looks at houses, or at least Monday through Thursday. Very rarely do people come to look at houses. Then the next weekend we had another open house with our agent. And the day before the open house, we had a showing, maybe 2 showings. No, 1 showing. And it was a family. They liked it. They indicated, feedback that they really liked it. Then we had the open house the next day. They came back to the open house with all their kids and, again, said they really liked it. They were, kind of coming back to the open house, kind of doing that measuring the rooms and this is your room, this is my room, kind of thing. Is everybody going to fit? So we thought it was a for sure thing. Also had a few other people coming to the open house, but kind of the people that come to open houses, we were out walking in the neighborhood and saw the sign kind of thing. So nobody really serious. Day after the open house, we got an offer from the family who had come twice. The offer was about $50K lower than our asking price, and a contingency offer that that nothing happens until after they sell their house. It's contingent upon them selling their house. It's like, no. We made a counteroffer because their real estate agent said, encourage us to make a counteroffer. Rejected our counteroffer. So that was that. Now another week has gone by. And last weekend, again, our real estate agent is out of town this week. I'm pet sitting for her, so I'm making money. But we haven't had any showings. I did just get a notification a couple hours ago. We have one for tomorrow evening, so fingers crossed. So somehow or other, we are right back where we were 5 years ago when we were selling in Illinois, where it just is dead. Nobody's looking. Nobody's making offers. Um, if you look in the price range in our neighborhood, we're the only house in our area for sale in this price range. So one would think supply versus demand. That was the opposite problem we had in Illinois when we were selling. There were a bazillion houses for sale in our price range, and the majority of them were new builds. And it was an older home. We couldn't compete with new builds. So, it was what it was. It took forever. We finally found the right family, but it just took a while. So that's where all that is, and we're still waiting to sell the house. It's it's 20th, 19th so it's been 3 weeks pretty much that it's been on the market, which isn't, the end of the world in real estate years. It feels like a year in real estate time, but when I have been watching this market for the last year, and houses similar to ours, houses identical practically to ours, sell in 2 or 3 days. Some houses were going on, on our next door app. People were, if you were thinking of selling your house in this neighborhood, can you please message me before you go live with your listing, because we're so desperate to live in this area that we want to, and that was the messaging I was getting constantly all summer long. And August, if you ever have a time to sell a house, don't do it in August. I don't know why I did it again this time. I should have known better. August is a terrible time to try to sell a house because people are going back to school. People are traveling before they go back to school. People are spending money and getting their kids into school. So sell in June and July so that they are already settled before school starts. If you're in a school zone, that's one of your selling points. Or wait until after Labor Day, because right now nobody's looking at houses. So it is what it is. So I'm here in my little rental, and I'm very happy because I don't have to deal with the house over there. I go over, get the mail, turn on the lights, light a candle, clean off the deck, etc. But otherwise, there's no animals living there. There's no people living there. So you say, well, Beth, where is your husband living if he's not living at the other house? He's living in my second bedroom. This week he's on the road. He went back on the road. But with Delta variant doing what Delta variant is doing all over the country right now, he's probably not going to be traveling much for the rest of the year, I'm guessing. So he's living with me. Like I said, this is all amicable. We get along fine. But this house is not built for 2 people, especially 2 people who are trying to run businesses or work from home. Prior to this travel, he was going back over to his home office at the other house during the day. But sleeping here at night and coming back over here for meals. And, he's here most of the time except for like 3 or 4 hours every day. It's just not conducive to me getting my videos made, getting my art made, getting myself settled in here, as a workable workspace and living space for myself. But it is what it is. It's just temporary. And that's why I have been gone, because that's what my life has been doing. Now, you say, Beth, you're a witch. You do energy work. I do a lot of manifesting and intention setting and that kind of thing. And yes, I have been doing all of that around this situation. I have been energetically cleansing the space over there, talking to the energies and the spirits of the house before showings, and doing all the work. And the messages I've been getting back, the messages that have been coming to me in spirit through meditations and journeys and tarot card readings and other things, the messages are coming back to me as this is working the way it's supposed to be working, and it's going to take the amount of time it's going to take. And when it works, when it finally comes to fruition, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be what you need it to be, when exactly you need it to be. I'm trusting that. I'm trusting the universe, because the universe put everything in place for me up until July 30th when we listed the house. And then it put the brakes on for a second. And the brakes are still on, but other things for me are moving ahead. I have other things in the works. I have a couple online offerings that I'm collaborating with, one with a large group of people here in the Chattanooga area, and I will have more about that both on my channel and on my Facebook group and my Instagram very soon. That's on my to-do list this week to get those, start promoting that. It's a virtual summit, a virtual camp, Woo at Home, and I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about the offerings of, especially of the other participants. There's really some amazing talent and amazing gifts being shared in this opportunity. So more information on that coming. And also my sisters and I are cooking up a little opportunity, a little share of our gifts and talents coming up for Mabon in September. So I will have more information on that. A weekend of, I don't know if it's a week of wonder with the Weird Sisters. That's kind of our working title. We'll see what happens, what we come up with. But sharing some of our different gifts and talents there for Second Harvest and which is Thanksgiving, some abundance and gratitude and things like that, different offerings over a week's time, and that's going to be really cool. It didn't work like clockwork. It didn't, just go boom, 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 and everything is working out smoothly. But it's working. It's doing its thing. And I'm not having to live over there and move all my animals out every time we have a showing, although there haven't been that many showings. But if you go 6 days between showings and you're living in the house, you got a lot of work to do on day 6 before that showing. Trust me, I've been there before, and I've had kids in the house and animals in the house, and it was a lot of work. So grateful and thankful that I have this space. And on that note, my 4 animals, which finding a place to rent with 4 animals I thought was going to be impossible. So thank you to my wonderful landlords and friends for trusting and believing that I would keep. And we haven't had one accident in this house in the month we've been here. And the animals are actually getting along really well. I'm so happy. The old cat is loving living in a 1-floor ranch style house, bungalow. He can be in any room he wants. He can have his own space or be social if he wants. It's been wonderful. My dog has a big yard here. We have a great neighborhood, very neighborly neighbors. So that's all been a huge blessing. And I'm learning this space and its energies and the land I'm on. I'm right next to a hiking area here in Chattanooga. That's Cass saying that he likes it here. Here's Lilith down here in the corner, liking this new couch. It's an old couch with a new cover on it. So I trust that a month from now, my story will be, this chapter of the story will be complete, and we'll be on to new and exciting things. But I just thought it was only fair that I update what's happening here since the last full moon, because we're coming into we were listed the house on a new moon or waning moon. Never do that either. I don't know why I wasn't paying attention. And then, a waning moon, not the new moon, because the weekend we were in Michigan was the full moon. So then the next weekend we put the house on the market in a waning moon. My fault. I should have paid attention. I should have known. Set a lot of intentions on the new moon. And now we're coming into this next full moon this weekend, and I have some good, strong feelings about it. Hopefully, this is the cycle. This 28 days is what I needed, and what the time that it was going to take. And if it's another 28 days, I guess it is, but I don't think it will be. When I have my hummingbird feeder up on my deck or my front porch. I have a house at the front porch, a covered front porch. Ever since I moved to the South, I wanted a front porch. And I have one now, and I put the hummingbird feeder up a little over a week ago, and I can sit here on my couch and watch the hummingbirds come and go to the feeder, and it's one of the greatest joys of my life. And I put bird feeders up outside my kitchen window so I can sit at my kitchen table and watch the cardinals come to and the wrens come to the feeders back there. So I really have everything I need right here, and I'm very blessed and I'm very happy. But if you're out there doing some, intention setting or spell work, and you have some suggestions other than burying a St. Joseph statue, I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it. I did it before, the old house. Yeah, we sold the house, but it wasn't because of St. Joseph being buried in our front yard. No offense to St. Joseph. You were a great dad. You're one of the best dads out there. And evidently you're a great carpenter and a saint of home ownership. But I'm not Catholic, and it just doesn't resonate with me. So if there's something similar in a more witchy vein or something along those lines that I can do to encourage a buyer to find that house, especially to lift the veil. I feel like that house has like an invisibility cloak over it for some reason. People have told me that they didn't see it listed on Zillow when they were on Zillow looking for houses. Now maybe they weren't looking in that price range, I don't know. We have these open houses and very few people come to them. I get this when I'm meditating on it and I'm working energetically with it, like either the house is hiding or something is hiding the house. So any way to break that energetic spell, if you will, put it in the comments or message me directly, and we'll get this whole house sold. And I have a huge list of crafts and items that I wanted to share on this channel over the last month, and it just wasn't time or energy for it. So stay tuned, and thanks for sticking with me. And if you've just found me, hey, join the ride, like, share, subscribe, comment, and see what I have coming up. Things that I have coming up is how to organize a very small space when you've got a lot of stuff. How to get to know your new space if you're moving into a new space. I think a lot of people are right now. And so how to kind of attune yourself to the energies of your new space. And kitchen organization, huge one. I went from a really big, huge kitchen in Illinois to a slightly smaller but a lot of storage kitchen in Tennessee to a very tiny kitchen with very little storage here also in Tennessee, but on the other side, a mile different house. So that's still a work in progress. So that video is coming up. So I know a lot of people really liked my Amazon unboxing of my sound bowls and comparison of the different sets of sound crystal bowls that I had. So I have some other Amazon things that I've been getting for this house and otherwise. That maybe I'll share some of that. And I also have, like I said, a huge list of actual energetic work and witchcrafting work that I want to share with you. So stick with me and come back and see what else I have to offer. But and those two virtual offerings that are coming up this fall, one in September and one in November. So keep an eye out. I will have some things on my social media. Find me at spiralpathhealingarts.com. Spiral Path on YouTube. No, this is where YouTube. Instagram and Facebook. You can find me in both of those places as well. I'll put the links in the description. And have a great one, witches. Peace out.